Every Naruto fan knows that the Uchiha clan planned to rebel against the village, but not many fans know how the Uchiha planned to do so. Before anyone brings up the scene in Naruto Shippuden where Fugaku shows Itachi his Mangekyo and reveals his plan via Genjutsu, which included kidnapping Naruto, extracting the Kyuubi from his body, and having Fugaku control the Kyuubi during the assault, I want to point something out. This was never in either Itachi novels that the anime adapted, which means is that for the purposes of this video, this plan will be thrown out altogether. So, how did the Uchiha plan to take over the Hidden Leaf Village in canon? Well, in today's Naruto Explained, I plan to look at the Uchiha clan's very first plan to take over the village, and the level of detail in this plan as well as the second plan might come as a shock to you all. We're given the details of the plan in the second Itachi novel, where Itachi meets the root member who infiltrated the Uchiha clan by taking on the appearance of a missing Uchiha. It's in this scene, which takes place a few days after Shishui's death, that we learn several things. We learn that the revised plan to take over the village was one that included much more bloodshed than the original. In the second plan that Fugaku created, key infrastructure points would be taken over by the Uchiha, village exits would be blocked, and numerous high-ranking officials, clan leaders, and skilled jonin would be killed at the start of the takeover. However, the initial plan was one that included much less bloodshed. What I will do now is read for you all a few select passages from the Midnight novel and then come back to you guys with an analysis, and it's here that I quote, "Because Shishui died, the radical faction forced your father to revise the plan and postpone the day of action. Shishui's death actually delayed the coup d'etat, which is a bit of irony." The older Gozu said, using a more polite form of speech since Itachi was indeed his team leader. The subordinates given to Itachi after Danzo made him Anbu team leader were Gozu and Mezu. Isolated from the other Anbu teams, Itachi's role was to watch the Uchiha clan very closely along with his team and then report back to Danzo. They were going to use Shishui's teleportation to charge the Hokage residence and abduct the third Hokage. It seems it's only natural that Shishui's death would slow their movements, Itachi said. Itachi's eyes ran over the parchment written by his father and by Yashiro, the revised plan for the coup d'etat. The key elements of the plan put together by his father were very complex. The abduction of the Hokage. The military police force would strike a huge blow by kidnapping the Hokage. Ninja would retaliate, which would buy time for the Uchiha clan to act. It would eventually force the village to accept their demands. Their demands were for Uchiha participation in the center of the village, dismantling of the Uchiha compound, giving the freedom to live wherever they pleased in the village, and naming Fugaku Uchiha as the 5th Hokage. Itachi's heart grew heavy. He couldn't believe the village would accept these impossible demands." End quote. So as you guys can see, Shishui's death was indeed a very crippling blow, since Fugaku planned to use Shishui's teleportation to take the third Hokage before he could react and force a negotiation. Fugaku even planned for the skirmishes that would ensue in the aftermath, but it would give him time to speak with the third Hokage and give him even more leverage to get what he wanted. However, the most fascinating thing about all of this is what the Uchiha planned to demand. Demand 1 was participation in the center of the village. As I've covered in a few prior videos, Fugaku was done extremely dirty by Danzo. He was made a member of the Jonin Council in name only, but he had no vote when it came to village actions. His efforts in the war were so great that people like Danzo even compared him to Minato, stating that he was equally seen as a once-in-a-generation talent, just as the 4th Hokage was, which is in the first Itachi novel, and even then, Sarutobi and the other elders never refuted his claim. The Uchiha simply wanted a say in the direction of the village, which is only fair considering that they did help found the Hidden Leaf Village. Demands 2 and 3 were the dismantling of the Uchiha compound and the freedom to live amongst the other clans in the village. The Uchiha compound was essentially a jail. They were sent off to the far edge of the village and placed under constant surveillance. Their role as police was being stripped away and given to the Anbu, giving them no real purpose, and on occasion there were even clashes between the Uchiha and the Anbu. Young Uchiha, like Izumi, were forced to leave what was left of their homes, near their classmates and near their parents' friends, and were forced to live on the outskirts of the village. They were a nation unto themselves when you think about it. Even the Hyuga clan, their compound was still near the residential area of the village, which is something that the Uchiha clan took note of during Reconstruction after the Kyuubi attack. Is it really wrong for an oppressed group to feel like they deserve to be part of the village that they spent their entire lives in and they actually helped found? Finally, their fourth demand was that Fugaku be named the 5th Hokage. As I've covered in a few other videos, both the Uchiha and the village elders, including the 3rd Hokage, knew that Fugaku had more than enough name recognition to become the next Hokage, but Danzo and the elders never would have allowed it. The mere fact that Fugaku's efforts in the war, which saw him be nicknamed Wicked Eye Fugaku Uchiha, were known only to the village higher ups and were never publicly recorded, whereas characters like Kakashi and Minato were openly celebrated as heroes during the 3rd Great Ninja War. The Uchiha wanted Fugaku named as Hokage to ensure that they could never be discriminated against again. So, what do you guys think about Fugaku's initial plan as well as his second plan to take over the village? Do you think either plan could have worked? That's it for my video today, guys.